So the ROG Xbox Ally X launched a few days ago, and as a huge fan of the Steam Deck, I've been thinking a lot about what this actually means for Valve and the potential successor to the Steam Deck. Because here's the thing, this isn't just another handheld joining the market, this is Microsoft, one of the biggest tech companies in the world, officially entering the handheld gaming space with the Xbox brand. And despite all of the online discourse about its nearly $1,000 price tag, early reports seem to indicate that it's selling pretty well. As someone who loves their Steam Deck OLED, the question that's on my mind is, what does this mean for the Steam Deck 2? Let's talk about it. First, let's get a sense of where we're at with regards to the timeline of the Steam Deck. The original deck launched in 2022, and the Steam Deck OLED kinda came out of nowhere in late 2023. Since then, Valve has been pretty clear that they're not rushing out a Steam Deck 2. They've said multiple times that they don't want to release a new device for just a marginal improvement. They're waiting for technology to improve enough for the successor to be what they consider a quote-unquote generational leap. But what exactly does that mean? And how does the Xbox Ally X change this conversation? Well, I think with the release of the Xbox Ally X, we're going to see way more current-gen games optimized for handhelds from day one. And I'm not just talking about indie games or old AAA ports, I'm talking about brand new releases. Think about it. Microsoft is now in the handheld space. That means their first-party games, everything from Call of Duty to Halo to whatever new franchises they launch, are going to be playable on their $1,000 gaming handheld. Microsoft has every incentive to at least try to make sure their games run great on the Xbox Ally. We'll just have to wait and see if they actually succeed. And as this category grows, third-party developers are going to want to reach this market too. We're already seeing it with the Nintendo Switch 2 and how seriously developers are taking that platform. The same thing is going to happen with PC handhelds. The original Steam Deck already plays older games and indies really well, but the value prop for the Steam Deck 2 has to be that it can play newer games well, especially the ones that I think are now going to be released with optimizations for handheld gaming. Otherwise, there's not going to be much of a reason to upgrade. The selling point has to be that it can play a whole new wave of games that the old Steam Deck can't. That's the generational leap Valve's been waiting for. Not just, oh, your old games are going to run and look slightly better. And with Microsoft making this already crowded space even more competitive, it feels like this isn't just a good strategy for Valve, but a non-negotiable one. But let's move on to my second point. The Xbox Ally X isn't just competing on specs, it's competing on ecosystem. Right now, SteamOS is hands down the best operating system for handheld PC gaming. It's simple, it's optimized, and for the most part, it just works. As good as the hardware is, the thing that makes the Steam Deck such an accessible product is the quality of its software. From early reviews of the Xbox Ally, this is where it's currently behind. The Windows experience on the Ally isn't quite there yet. It's still not as smooth as SteamOS. But the thing is, it's going to get better. SteamOS certainly has over the years, and Microsoft has something that Valve doesn't: Game Pass. In my opinion, Game Pass is a massive differentiator. Being able to access the Game Pass library to download and play games natively on the handheld can be a system-selling feature. So for Valve, this means they're going to have to continue iterating and evolving SteamOS in order to keep that competitive advantage against other handhelds. Alright, let's talk about the price, because it's been the hottest topic surrounding the launch of the Xbox Ally X. The Steam Deck OLED currently starts at $549. The Ally X costs $999. That's a $450 price gap. And here's the thing, delivering that generational leap we just talked about, that's not cheap. Better processor, bigger battery, improved display, AI upscaling technology, all of that costs money. So I think it's fair to assume, for those reasons alone, the Steam Deck 2 is going to be more expensive. Because the reality is that making better tech costs more. And the Xbox Ally X proved that consumers are willing to pay for it. I mean, people are buying it even at $1,000. People seem to want premium handhelds, and they're willing to spend premium money. But with that being said, I still believe that the base Steam Deck 2 will be cheaper than the Xbox Ally X. One of the Steam Deck's biggest selling points is the performance it delivers at an affordable price point relative to other PC handhelds. And I think Valve likes being in that sweet spot. But here's where I kind of had a crazy thought. I think that as a result of Microsoft releasing the Xbox Ally and the Ally X, I think there's now a real chance that Valve could release a Steam Deck 2 and a Steam Deck 2 Pro. Now hear me out, I know Valve has said in the past that they like having one spec for the Steam Deck, and early on, that made sense. When the category was just starting, asking developers to optimize for multiple Steam Deck SKUs would have been a tough sell. But things have changed. Microsoft is now in the space, with 2 models. The category is growing. Developers are already optimizing for handhelds. Multiple SKUs aren't going to fragment the market like they would have in 2022. So here's what I think happens. Valve wants to keep the Steam Deck 2 base model accessible. They don't want to price out the core audience that made the original Steam Deck such a success. But at the same time, I don't think they want to be left in the dust when it comes to technical capabilities either. So the logical solution would be to release 2 versions, an affordable option and a premium one. The Steam Deck 2 Pro would go after the high-end market that the Xbox Ally X proved exists. And by having that premium tier, Valve can keep the base model more affordable for everyone else. It's a tried and true strategy, and one that could make sense here. Alright, let's wrap this thing up. So what does the Xbox Ally X mean for the Steam Deck 2? Well, I think it means that if you're a fan of PC handhelds like the original Steam Deck, you should be pleased. Regardless of whether or not you buy the Xbox Ally X, just its presence adds more competitive pressure to this market. And generally speaking, in competitive markets, consumers usually win. The original Steam Deck succeeded because it created a new market with a quality product at a great price. But now we're in a different era. It's crazy to think how crowded this category has become in just a few years. Personally, I love my Steam Deck OLED. I think it's hands down one of the best pieces of tech that's come out in the past few years. And because of that, I don't really feel a need to pick up the Xbox Ally. But despite that, I still hope it turns out to be successful, because that only raises the stakes for every new device in the space. As a result, I feel confident that when the Steam Deck 2 does finally launch, it'll be worth the wait. So what do you think? Did you pick up an Xbox Ally or Ally X or are planning to? What do you hope to see in the Steam Deck 2? And would you buy a Steam Deck 2 Pro? Or was that just a crazy idea? Let me know in the comments. But that'll do it for this one. Thanks for watching, like and subscribe if you enjoyed the content, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.